Hello, Black Girl. Ooh, I'm so glad that you are here. I got something for you today. So this is going to be a very transparent moment for me. I had a conversation just yesterday with a colleague of mine, and we were talking business and stuff. And I think one of the things I want to share with you today is that it doesn't matter how much you accomplish, how successful you are. There are moments that are going to come where you have your self-doubt and you're going to start to question your capabilities and your validity of being able to do whatever that next thing is. So today I want this conversation to be very vulnerable, very transparent with you about my recent experiences. And I want to talk to you about how to do it scared, keep the faith, and get out of your own way. It's time to thrive in the spaces God has called you to be. Thanks for joining me for another episode of the Hello Black Girl podcast. Some of you know, some of you don't. I am your purpose coach, Bailey Orenia, and I am here to help you breathe through exhaustion, restore your purpose, and thrive in the spaces God has called you to be. So listen, today I want to talk to you about pushing through doubt, pushing through your fears, keeping the faith, and all of that good stuff that comes with it. And I know sometimes it can be challenging. So as I was saying, just yesterday I had a conversation with a colleague of mine, and I was telling her how there are certain things that I want to move into. Well, first I had asked her, how do you see me? Because sometimes we see ourselves in a certain light, and how we think other people see us is something totally different. So when we're moving about, sometimes we forget about our purpose and the greatness that God has called us to do. And we start to question it, especially when we don't think that we have the resources that we need to accomplish the things that we need to accomplish. And that's where the faith comes in, and reminding ourselves that in having purpose, we have to remember that if God created us to do that thing or those things, He is going to supply us with those things in order for us to do what we need to do. So my conversation with her yesterday was very, very encouraging. She definitely gave me my flowers, which I greatly appreciate. But at the same time, she kept it 100. And she told me, Bailey, you create all of these great things. You are definitely ahead of your time. And it's like when you create it, you're like, oh, this person is this, and this. But then you take a step back and you realize, oh, wow, that person is me. And then she was saying that once I realized that all of this is me, I kind of freeze. And I'm going to be honest with you. I had to be honest. I was like, you're absolutely right. Now, full transparency, there are times that I push through it regardless. And there are times that I don't push through. And there are times it takes me a little bit longer to push through. And the reason why I'm sharing this with you is that I want you to know that it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter what title that you have. Even the people that you think who have it all together still have their struggles. And I'm sharing that with you because I don't want you to think that you have to have everything together, that you have to have it polished, that you're not going to have your challenges and that you're not going to have your struggles, because you definitely are. So I want to take a moment to share with you a couple of Bible verses that we all know so well. So the first Bible verse is 2 Corinthians 5:7, which talks about living by faith and not by sight. And then in Proverbs 3:5-6, that we are to trust in the Lord with all of our heart and lean not to our own understanding. And in all our ways submit to Him, and He will make your path straight. James 1:6, but when you ask, you must believe and not doubt, because the one who doubts is like a wave of sea blown and tossed by the wind. Now I want to stop right there and talk about that last verse. Now that particular verse resonated with me. Now all the other verses, obviously a lot of us have already heard, and some of us, we just kind of say things but not really taking a moment to say, what does that really mean? So for that particular verse, it resonated so much with me because I think that is how we find ourselves most of the time. We're believing God for something, and then as soon as a challenge shows up, or we don't necessarily have what we need in the second we feel like we should have it, we start to doubt ourselves. And then our emotions go up and then they come back down, and they go up and they go back down. And that's kind of how the sea goes. If you ever floated at the beach, you rise up and you go down, and you rise up and you go down. And from an emotional perspective, as we know, that's not a healthy place to be. So that's when our faith needs to kick in. And we need to remember that everything in that journey is not going to be perfect, that we're going to have our highs and our lows. And I think when we brace ourselves for that, when those highs and lows come, it makes it easier for us to push through to achieve the things that we need to achieve. So with all of that being said, I want to give you 5 things that I believe can help you start addressing the challenges that you may go through when you are feeling fearful or doubtful. But before I go there, I do want to say that sometimes we put ourselves in that situation. So in Luke, it talks about how before you start to build something, how you need to count the cost. And sometimes we jump into things without planning it and not realizing how much time it's going to require, how much sacrifice it's going to require, whether that's time, money, energy, emotions, resources, the people around us. So I think a lot of times we can even eliminate a lot of the fear or doubt that we have if we would just sit down and factor in what needs to take place in order for us to achieve what we want to achieve. So with that, here are the 5 things I want to share with you to help push you through doubt and having the faith and the strength to move towards what God is calling you to be. The first one is, what are you afraid of? Now, what I mean by that is for you to actually sit down and be honest with yourself. What are you really afraid of? It may be fear related, and sometimes we're afraid of success. A lot of us don't want to be in front of the camera. We don't want to be thrusted in the limelight. We don't necessarily want everybody to know who we are. So being afraid of something is not always a failure aspect. Sometimes it can be a success aspect. But I want you to sit down and write that down, because you're really not going to be able to do anything else until you are honest to be able to assess what you're really afraid of. Second thing is, what did God say? So whatever it is that you're thinking of pursuing, even if it's your purpose, what does God say about that? Because sometimes there's things that we want to do that God didn't even call us to do. And sometimes it's just not a biblical thing that we should be doing, regardless of the world says. So what is it? What does God's word say about what we want to do? The third thing is, are your fears true or are they made up? So sometimes we have a habit of getting in our own head. Oh, this is what's going to happen if I do this, or this is what's not going to happen, or this person is going to say no, or this person. And then we get so caught up in the what ifs that we don't really think about, is this true or is this made up? So I want you to write down what is true about what it is you want to pursue as it relates to your fear. And that will give you the opportunity to kind of get real with yourself about whether or not this is something that you should even be fearful of or be doubting yourself about. The fourth one is, what would you learn if you failed or succeeded? Now, sometimes we look at losing or failing as a bad thing. And let me tell you this, anything that you pursue, there's always an upside and then there's always a backside. There's just like there's 2 sides to the piece of paper, there's 2 sides to the coin. There's always a benefit and there's always going to be a drawback. And what I mean by that is, even if you succeed in something, you succeeding costs you time, it costs you energy, it costs you money, it costs you fill in the blank. If you failed, it costs you time, it costs you money, but it's still a benefit because you learn something from it. So the goal is to take whatever it is that you learn and apply it moving forward. And that goes with losing and with success, okay? Now, the next thing I want to say is, what would you lose out on if you didn't try? Sometimes we don't think about, when we're doubting ourselves, we're fearful about something, we don't think about what we could potentially lose out on. as far as in a positive way. We always thinking about, well, if it doesn't work, this is going to happen. This is going to happen. I'm not going to have this. But we don't stop to think about, well, what do I have the potential of losing out on if I don't pursue it? And to be honest with you, that list looks pretty nice if you think about it. And that in itself should give you the motivation to move forward. I just want you to know that at the end of the day, when you're being challenged with something, when you're doubtful, when you're fearful, I just want you to implement those 5 steps that I just shared with you, to really just meditate and pray to God and assess what is your next steps in moving towards your goal and moving towards your dream. Because I promise you, almost always, it's going to be more beneficial for you to pursue what it is that you need to pursue than it is for you not to. And as I have shared with you before, the world needs what you have to offer. God put everyone on earth for a reason. And when we take ourselves out of the center, it allows us to serve other people. So with that, I want you to remember moving forward, if I don't do this thing, how am I not, don't focus so much on how you could potentially fail, but think more so about how other people around you are going to miss out on that opportunity and being blessed by your gift or by your service. So I hope this message served you well. And as always, when someone asks you to do something that doesn't serve you well, you just say, that is not my ministry. Thanks again. Love you.